Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to begin my presentation with a quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., who said that a child's education should begin at least 100 years before that child is born. Just the other day, I was lounging, relaxing in my room, going through my diaries and reminiscing about the good old days. And as I read through my diaries, I looked and I said, my goodness, I had so many dreams, so much vigor, so much passion. And as I went through some photographs, I came across this little gem right here of myself in primary school. I'm the one giving the thumbs up. I had a wonderful childhood. It was beautiful. But it made me ask the question, what about the youth of today? What are their hopes, goals, dreams, and visions? And how realistic is it going to be for them to make those dreams a reality? Now, many of us have heard the phrase, education is the greatest equalizer. Not so. If that is the case, ladies and gentlemen, then we are in a situation of dire straits. In 2008, the Ministry of Education conducted a study. And what they did was they decided to follow a group of grade 8 learners for that year. And the aim was to follow them academically until they got to grade 12. So in 2008, they started off with 56,000 students. Fast forward to the next year, and they only had 48,000 students. The year after that, the number dropped down to 36,000. By the time these learners got to grade 12, the number was down to 15 to 20,000. That is a loss of about 35 to 40,000 students. Where are those children? Where are their hopes? Where are their goals? Where are their dreams? If the results that the Ministry of Education released last year are anything to go by, this group of learners that you're looking at right here, if they were in matric right now, only 6 of them would get the marks required to advance to a tertiary institution. What happens to the rest of them? Who gets to decide who gets to live out their dreams? Within the realm of computer science, or for those of us who use computers, what typically happens is when we get stuck, when a program becomes unresponsive, we press Control-Alt-Delete, and that helps us fix the problem. I believe that right now, at this present point in time, our education system needs a reboot. I don't believe that any one magic bullet will solve all our problems, but I would like to propose something to you today that is entitled Radiant Thinking. I believe that radiant thinking is one of the keys that will help our students perform better in high school and in school in general. But before I can get to radiant thinking, please allow me to give you guys a bit of a background, because I believe that it is crucial that we understand the manner in which the mind works before we can fully appreciate radiant thinking. Each one of you sitting in this audience right now has about 1 trillion brain cells. They look something like this. And the name of a brain cell is a neuron. Traditionally speaking, our children were categorized into either left brain or right brain groups. Those who belonged to the left brain group were considered to be analytical, and those who belonged to the right brain group were considered to be creative. So what teachers would do was the following. If you're intelligent, you're good at maths, you're good at science, you fall into the left brain group. And if you are the kind of student who is not so good with the books, you get pushed to the creative section. No, you need to learn to work more with your hands. Do more of the practical subjects. Not so. But modern research has actually shown that that is a myth. Our brains, both left and right hemispheres, work together as one in tandem. No child should be limited into either a left or the right brain group. Now, each and every one of us has several mental skills that we have. These mental skills are as follows: language, number, logic, rhythm, color, imagery, and spatial awareness. So the question is, how does our brain store information? And the secret is in patterns. When you take a sip of a glass of water, that information is stored in your brain in the form of a pattern. When you meet somebody in town, you shake hands and you exchange names. That information is stored in your brain in the form of a pattern. When you're reminiscing about what happened in your favorite television episode last week, that information that you're accessing is stored as a memory pattern. This, for example, could be the memory pattern for a banana, and that for milk, for example. Each of the brain cells that you have in your brain connects to approximately 10,000 other brain cells next to it. So, how many possible combinations can one single brain cell have? The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 1 times 10 to the power 28. How big is this number? That's how large it is. That's just one brain cell. What about the entire brain? This is where it becomes interesting. If I wrote down the number on a piece of paper, okay, and this number is used to signify the power of your brain, the number that would represent the total number of possible combinations that your brain is capable of creating, this paper would be 10.5 million kilometers long. 10.5 million kilometers long, just to express a number. We don't even have a name for that number. But let's put this in perspective. The diameter of the Earth is roughly, 40,000 kilometers. This piece of paper would go around the Earth 262 times. No child ever deserves to be called stupid anymore, ladies and gentlemen. We have infinite mind power. The distance from the Earth to the moon is approximately 380,000 kilometers. This paper would go to the moon and back approximately 27 times. The next time somebody calls you stupid, you should say to them, I have infinite power. Do not limit my abilities based on your perceptions. But if that's the case, then the question is, why are our children failing? It is my belief and my contention that the reason for this, ladies and gentlemen, is the manner in which we feed information into the brains of our children. This is typically how we teach our children to take notes. You write down summaries, and in some cases, you'd also have some bullet points. I showed you 7 mental skills. This does not cater to all of them. Now, does it? There are issues with this form of note-taking. Keywords are hidden. It's difficult to remember. It takes time to compile those notes. Your creativity is stifled, and it doesn't cater to all 7 of your mental skills. Dr. Keith HOWE of EXETER University conducted a study, and what he did was the following. He took 3 groups of students, and they were given material that they had to go and study, and then they would be tested on that material. And they were allowed to stand with their notes whilst they were answering questions. The first group of students were given complete notes. The second group were given sentences, and the third group worked with keywords. Whom do you think performed the best out of all of these groups? 100% correct. Those that used keywords. The worst performers were right down here, the ones that use complete notes. And you wonder why our kids are not performing in school. This should give us food for thought. There was another experiment that was conducted by Dr. Ralph N. HARBER in 1970 that was published in the Scientific magazine. And in this experiment, he showed participants 2,560 photographs. So you would sit down and you would view a photograph for 10 seconds, then the next photograph would come, and then the next photograph after the next 10 seconds. It took 3 days to conduct this experiment. At the end of the third day, they gave them a 1-hour break, and then they called them back in. Now they wanted to test the memory or the recall ability of the participants. So to test them, they showed them 2 photographs, one which they had seen before and another which they had not seen before. And they had to guess which one of the 2 photographs they had seen. The results were astounding. 85 to 95% of the participants got the pictures correct. That was the success rate, 85 to 95%. They said, no, this is too good to be true. Maybe we gave them too much time. Let's reduce the time from 10 seconds down to 1 second. And the results, ladies and gentlemen, were completely identical, 85 to 95%. This is why we have the saying, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And what this scientific experiment has shown is that as far as pictures are concerned, our brains are actually limitless. We have photographic memory when it comes to pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, I propose to you that the food of the mind, based on my limited research, is imagination and association. Don't believe me? Take a look at this photo. What do you think is happening over here? Some of you are thinking, oh, it's an accident. That is your creativity coming into play. You haven't actually seen the accident taking place, but your creativity is filling in the blocks, the blanks. What are these? Yeah, exactly. Most of you are saying gifts. How do you know they're gifts? Technically, these could just be boxes that have been covered in nice paper with ribbons on them. But because of association, you associate boxes that look like this with gifts. Now, let's have a small experiment, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like you to all close your eyes. Please close your eyes. I'm going to mention a word, and then we're going to see what happens. I want you to focus on the word that I'm going to mention. The secret word is mango. 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 Please open your eyes. Is this what you saw? Exactly. This proves the point that our minds do not think in terms of words. What most of you saw in your mind's eye was a nice juicy mango. And for those of you who went even further, what you saw was yourself enjoying this fruit. This should remove any doubt, ladies and gentlemen, in your minds. We think in terms of pictures. Now we're prepared to move on to radiant thinking. Radiant thinking was established by Tony Buzan in the 1970s whilst he was at university. And radiant thinking is based on certain principles. It's neuron-shaped. It stimulates the imagination, promotes association. It helps to foster creativity, and it helps improve your memory. There are certain guidelines that you need to follow when you want to implement mind mapping, and these are as follows. You need to make use of as much color as possible. Make use of images, basic ordering ideas, and keywords. Next up, I'd like to show you a very quick, very brief example of how a student in school would actually go about the process of mind mapping. Let's take the subject geography. So the first thing that the student would do is get a piece of paper and draw an image, something that symbolizes geography. The next stage would be to go through the book and look at the different chapters. Those would now form your basic ordering ideas. Note that each of those arms has a different color, and we're only using keywords. Each chapter has got subsections. And on top of this, we also encourage the use of images as well. Mind mapping is brilliant for many situations in life, not just school. You can use this in business. You can use this for problem solving. And just to prove that I practice what I preach, this is the mind map that I used to prepare this presentation that I've just delivered for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to press Control-Alt-Delete on our education system. Nothing will change unless we change things. It's that simple. When you look into the eyes of our learners, your young brothers, your young sisters, your children, when you listen to their dreams, what role are you going to play to help ensure that they manage to fulfill their dreams? If there's only one thing you take away from the presentation that I have delivered today, let it be this. Go back and Google mind mapping and radiant thinking. And I'd like to end off with a quote by Anatole France that says, "An education that does not cultivate the will is an education that deprives the mind."